Welcome back to our third presentation of Franchise Times Prime Time. We are very happy to have you, our audience, with us for our final one of the day. We are excited to have with us Steve Schulze of Nekter Juice Bar. Steve, welcome.
Nekter Juice Bar began in 2010 with the idea that healthy can be affordable, delicious, and make you feel great. We envisioned a place where people could ease into their days gently, instead of being jolted into wakefulness by processed sugars and artificial flavors. Our goal was to reinvent the juice space the same way that Starbucks reinvented the coffee experience in the early 90s. We lead the clean eating revolution with our fresh, natural, and raw ingredients. But we are not, and have never been, an elitist juice bar. Our mission is to make a healthy lifestyle affordable and accessible to anybody who desires to live life well.
Are you all set for me? Awesome. Well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for hosting this event. I think it's kind of a cool way to do it. Obviously, we had a nice presentation about the Learning Center a moment ago, and hopefully we can learn a little bit about Nekter and what we do. And obviously at the end, I'll be happy to answer any questions. But if we can go ahead and go to the next slide, on the next slide here, you'll see a picture actually of our very first location. It didn't look like that when we first opened. It was an old Starbucks location, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but we remodeled it. It looks a little nicer now. But anyways, back in 2010, the idea came to me as I had been not attending, but going to the legacy juice bars and such, that they had really become sort of glorified ice cream shops with the fillers and the sugars and and all that stuff. And one day I happened to stumble upon the nutritional aspects of what they offered in the drink that I happened to be getting. And what I found was that there's 90 grams of sugar or carbs, and even today some of the largest brands out there have all that stuff in there, and frankly it's just not very good for you. And the goal that I set out to do was to reinvent the juice bar space, similar to the way Starbucks reinvented the coffee experience. And I thought that if we could make something affordable, accessible, and something that was of interest to somebody that desired a healthy lifestyle, that we might have something. And at that same time, there was a proliferation, which is even more prevalent today than it was then, of Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and Sprouts and healthier options for living. So when I said about starting out Nekter, what the goal was to do away with anything processed. I wanted to go with a very simple menu, and so the menu was juices, smoothies, and acai bowls. And we were the first juice bar in the country to offer acai bowls, in a juice bar space. And then the juices were, and still are, basically 6 juices: parsley, kale, spinach, apple, things of that nature. We offer smoothies, which the only fillers that we allow in the smoothies are coconut water and house-made nut milk that's made in all locations system-wide on a daily basis. And in the acai bowl, we use organic, one of the few, probably the 1% that use organic acai, just because it's a better consistency and a better product. But anyway, the way it started was the store that you see here on the screen here is located on 17th Street in Costa Mesa. And back in the early 90s, it used to be a Starbucks location, early to mid 90s, give or take. And when you would drive by there, and this is somewhat of the pre-internet days, you can't see it there, but it's a patio to the left. The store would be packed all the time, and I would go as well. And you'd see people with their textbooks from college and newspapers and people reading. And, it was when people, for those that, are old enough to remember when, the third space was a big, or third place was a big, sort of a catchphrase, so to speak, in the sense of Howard Schultz. People had their home, they had their work, and then he wanted to develop a third location, which could be a community, which was Starbucks. And that's what they attempted to build. And I think they did a very good job of doing that. And so that's what I saw on this location. And if you look at the location, today there's a State Farm above it, and it's mostly an office type thing, not a very big building. So if I were to build a corporate store or advise a franchise location, there probably isn't a location that I would choose because it doesn't hit the parameters, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But as I drove by on a daily basis, it started to resonate with me that the Starbucks had closed and they had moved down the street and opened up a drive-through, and it was vacant. And I thought to myself, hey, again, as I mentioned earlier, what if I could reinvent Starbucks, reinvent, Nectar, in the way that, Starbucks did. And so we started out with that one location. The idea, started percolating in August. We opened in October of 2010 with our very, October 10th of 2010 was the very first location. It was about 900 square feet. And then it wasn't too long in which it resonated and went on to some more locations, which I'll talk about in a minute. So let's move on to the next slide, if you will. And part of it, I think, is looking at the, for us when we started Nectar, a huge part of it, I think, is culture, is brand standards, is what you're trying to achieve, in the sense of many of the people that started with us is very first juicers, and there's a couple of people in the room that've been with us for 10 years. We've only been open, not only, but it'll be 11 years in October. Is the culture that we provide, in the sense that we like that. Again, we like to offer the healthy lifestyle. We like it to be affordable, accessible. We're not big into the elitist type brands, in the sense of, in LA, sometimes you see in LA and New York, you see those, the celebrity type stuff, and you see, there's juice concept out there offering, organic, basically what happens when we reinvented the space, we were the first ones in it. And it was about 5 years later by the time the copycats came along, and some of them did their twist. One did a organic, and nothing against organic, but if you're going to run a business, organic is 30 to 40% higher. The pressures on cost of goods and produce, and it's nearly impossible to A, make money, but B, you don't want to, in my opinion, if we're going to put this in the flyover states and across the country, to have a $10 or $12 smoothie just doesn't make sense for a habitual type deal. And so there are various standards that we stood by when we started Nectar. And we also wanted to build the brand and understand all aspects of it. And so we opened the first location in March of 2011. We opened our third location, our second location, and then a third location the following September. And then we continued to build, as we started to grow. And we'll hit that next slide, and we'll move into this a little bit. We'll go to one more slide, maybe. So what happened is that, and this is something I just don't know, that this has to do with Nectar, but also has to do with franchising in general. And I don't mean necessarily. It doesn't have to do with juice bars, but any juice concept. And that, I believe the franchisor has a responsibility to invest in the brand, to own and operate locations, to really get their hands dirty and have skin in the game. And so we started, we had 12 locations in 2012. We had franchise requests coming in, probably 3 to 5 franchise inquiries a day, started from 2010 until then, and continued to get that kind of volume. But I refused to franchise. Now, I could have sold, God knows how many franchises, and probably made millions of dollars on franchise fees, but at the same time I probably would have been out of business. And the reason for that was I felt that we had a couple of things. One is I thought we had moral obligation, an ethical obligation, and we really had to know, in my opinion, how the good, the bad, and the different. Yes, when everything's going great, everybody's happy and fat and things are working good, so to speak, and but when all of a sudden it, say, rains in California and people don't go outside and the sales dip, or you have labor problems, or supply chain issues, they're just things that I didn't really know at that particular stage. And so when somebody's going to franchise, what they're doing is they're paying a 6% fee, and what they're paying for is basically they're paying for that system to avoid those mistakes and avoid the millions of dollars that we spent doing certain things. And so my point to the whole thing is, and I just kind of have a thing on this, is that I have a hard time understanding when somebody has either 0 or 1 or 2 corporate locations and then 500 franchise locations. My point is that if you're going to pay 6%, that company ought to has an accountability and responsibility to know everything about it. So, we've been in this 10 years. We have 30 to 40 corporate locations all around the country, and there's very little that I can think of that we haven't been through over the last 10 years that we can't share and assist and help our franchise partners with. And so I think that's a very important thing. Another important thing I think is that is also proof of concept. And so what I mean by proof of concept, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know, is that it's one thing to work in Southern California. It's quite another to work in, say, Denver or different climates. And again, I did think that rather than us selling a franchisee a store in Denver, I thought that we had a responsibility to go in different climates of Northern California, Arizona, Texas, Denver, and build out corporate locations and to see if this was a brand that could travel. Is this a brand that could sell in Chicago, in Denver, in Texas, and not just be a niche brand in Southern California. As it turned out, what happened was we released 6 franchise agreements awarded 6 franchise agreements in 2012, and then I wanted to sit on it for 2 years to see how that relationship evolved. It was a very iterative relationship. I wanted to see how the franchise partners reacted, how their sales were, guest experience, because we had spent a lot of time and sweat and money and blood and sweat and tears, all that kind of stuff. And it was, very close to our heart and remains that way. And I was concerned that if I put it in somebody else's hands, what are they going to do with it? As it turns out, the franchise partners, frankly, run the locations better than the corporate stores do. They have, again, similar to us, they have skin in the game. They pay attention to the guests. They get engaged in the community. They take care of their team members. So it turned out to be a very a very good thing. And so so we awarded those 6, and we sat on it for 2 years because I wanted to see how that relationship evolved. I didn't want to just put on 6 months and say, oh, things are great and let's go. And so we sat on it for 2 years. And at the same time, like I said, we tested those new markets, such as the colder climates. And what we discovered in those 2 years are a couple of things. One is obviously the relationships with franchise partners was very good. And then 2, what we found was that we were a lifestyle brand, not a treats brand. And again, what I mean by that is that, when the first of the year comes, many of us, want to get in shape, lose weight, whatever it may be. And for Nectar, the doors would come, busting down come January 1st. They'd be, a lot of us, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holidays, all that kind of stuff hits. And we, eat too much or drink too much or whatever it is. And now it's time to get back on schedule. And similar to gym memberships, for Nectar, we get very busy starting in, that January 1st, kickoff. What that does for us is it allows us to drive more revenue than a lot of the legacy brands, simply because they're viewed more as a treats brand. Frankly, I think the category needs to be split out a little bit, but that's a separate topic altogether. But so while their sees a treats brand typically, which I mean ice cream, yogurt, the legacy juice bars of the world, their season starts about spring break and goes to Labor Day, and that's about it. For us, we start January 1st, kick off hard and go through about mid-October, and then it starts to slow down. By starting January 1st, what that does is gives us a 2.5 month start on sales. And as you can see, our volumes, you see it $908,000, which is probably 30% higher or more than any juice bar, at least national juice bar in the country. It's just it's a combination of things. One is the demand and the quality of the products and things like that, and 2, obviously that we have a longer season, so that helps from a dramatic fashion. Let's see what I'm not sure what the next slide says, so let's go ahead and see what the next slide is. I can't remember off the top of my head. So I was at the award. Yeah. So there's a lot of the award. We've won most awards that you can think of, so to speak. I think, and I don't mean that in a whatever way. I just mean it just the way things work out, I guess. And again, I think that's a dedication to our team, to our members, and also our franchise partners. And going back to the franchise partners that I mentioned. Which we'll jump to the next slide real quick, is that, we started in 2010, tested in 2012, sat on it until 2014. And then what we did is we said, all right, what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to take this next year to develop the systems in a tight format, understand what we want to do, and then figure out how we want to grow the brand. And what I mean by that is this, is that I believe in centric growth when you're franchised. And what I mean by centric growth is we're based in Orange County, California. So when I first started, I put 3 locations in Orange County, then I put 3 in San Diego, then eventually I put 3 in Phoenix. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to put those relatively close together, several miles apart, so that I had, brand awareness, I had efficiencies with supply chain, I had efficiencies with staffing. I could cross-pollinate the marketing to spread that out. And then when I went into a new market like Phoenix, what the goal was is let's put 3 in there. And if those 3 work, let's go ahead and rapidly expand and own the market. Fast forward to today, we have, I think, 26, 7, 8 locations in Phoenix and probably 5 more under construction. I think we'll max out and sell out the market. If it doesn't sell out in the next month, I'd be surprised. But I think we'll probably cap at about 35 or 36 locations. And then Dallas, and then went to Houston, things of that nature. What you'll see some franchise brands do, and again, this is something that I just disagree with in running a brand or a company, is that they will take more of a shotgun approach. And I'll tell you the reasons why on this, in the sense of, now, we were getting, as I mentioned earlier, we were getting probably 3 to 5 inquiries a day. And again, we continue to. And those inquiries come from all over the country. They might come from Boise, St. Louis, Detroit, Atlanta. Now, if I were to approve and accept, all the franchise partners that, or enough of them that applied for those areas, and all of a sudden I have 1 location in Boise and, 1 in Denver, 1 in St. Louis, 1 in Atlanta. I think that it is very problematic for the corporate, for the franchisor and the franchisee. From a franchisor perspective, the idea of us, you want to give as much support to new franchise partners as you can. And so if you're talking about flying up to a location, I can fly into Phoenix and we have 20 locations we can go ahead and cover. If all of a sudden I sell 1 in Boise, we're flying up there, you're sending a team up, you're spending, a lot of time, a lot of money, and it's 1 location. Simultaneously, how much brand awareness is that 1 location really getting? How are they optimizing that supply chain to get the best purchasing if they're the only ones in that area? It just, from a congruent standpoint, to me, it just doesn't make sense. The only time I believe it makes sense is if it is a speed to market, which you see this, you saw it a number of years ago in the fast casual space of pizza with Pyology and with Blaze Pizza. And I'll just tell you a quick side story about those 2 concepts. And Blaze won that war, won the war on it. And the reason they was just sort of inside story, so to speak, because I know the CEOs of both companies. And the reason they won it is that, when Pyology did their growth, what they did is they wanted to sell large franchise development agreements. So they wanted to do 10, 20, 30 store agreements. They wanted to have about 20 franchise partners around the country, and that was it, because they didn't want to deal with, tons of individual partners. And so ultimately what happened was you had 1 guy that buys Phoenix for Pyology. He opens up 1 location. It ends up being, so-so, but a little bit soft. He agrees to open up per his development schedule a 2nd location. That ends up being a little bit soft. He's not getting the returns that he had expected. And so he sits on it. And he has every right to sit on it. And even though he has a development schedule and the franchisor could default, it may take a few years to get out of it. So while it was 3 years into it, Pyology is stuck with 2 locations in Phoenix, and Blaze has 20 because they were selling 1, 2, 3 store agreements and having it built out from multiple sides. So that's what happened with the pizza space. Jimmy John's, another example. Jimmy John's only sells 1 location at a time. You prove yourself, you do well, then they'll award more franchise agreements after that. But I'm not sure what that story is worth, but I just think it's fascinating and interesting the way people go about it. And the reason I say that is that if I had my druthers, I'm more of a 1 to 3, 3 to 5 store agreement, because I think it's important for people to not overextend themselves. I want them to understand the business, make sure they enjoy the relationship in the business. They're making a lot of money. And if they are, we certainly want to expand the relationship with them. And usually they want to expand the relationship with us. We have one franchise partner in the Inland Empire here in Southern California. And he started off with a 5-year, 5-store agreement. I think within 18 months, I think he was at 7 stores. Fast forward to today, he has 18 locations. He's now signed on for 30 and is currently opening 1 a month. He's got a multi-million-dollar operation that is of great significance, employs God knows how many people, hundreds of people, and does terrific. And he did it a smart way, and we have other franchise partners that have done it that way as well. So there's ways to do it and ways not to do it. And again, this doesn't apply just to Nectar, but as you guys are looking at different concepts, these are certain things I think that you should consider. And let's go on to the next slide here. Especially with the pandemic, over the past year and a half, you've read more about technology probably than we've ever read before, and technology, especially as it relates to restaurants and third-party deliveries, the DSPs, which delivery service providers, which are the DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats of the world. We have a terrific head of our digital, who spearheaded our program in 2016, which again, we were one of the early adapters on that. And if you look at it, we started in 2016 I'll back up with the story on that. If we switched them at that time, we still had those little paper cards where people stamped the cards. And so when we flipped to digital, people, frankly, were very upset. I don't know if they were used to some of the girls and staff would stamp them too many times or what it was, but anyway, we went ahead and converted anyway to digital with, like I said, I think in 2016 it was 10,000 people on our app and our ordering platform, which is similar to Starbucks, clearly not as robust as Starbucks, but pretty robust. Fast forward to today, we have over 900,000 people on that platform, which if you compare it to other brands, there's many brands, and I won't name the names, but there's many brands out there that have 1,000 locations and don't have 500,000 people on their program. So for us to have 900,000 people on the app is it's a tremendous achievement, and it's a great asset for us. If you look at our sales, from a in-person standpoint to online ordering, especially again with the pandemic and such, it's up to about 49% of our sales come in that way. And it allows a lot of things that people don't take in consideration, which is basically the analytics of the data mining of the guests. So we can get a lot more data, a lot more information. We can target things to guests, very specifically. So that as an example, if you are somebody that orders a smoothie, I'm not going to send you a promotion for an acai bowl. I might send you a promotion for a smoothie plus a protein bopper or things of that nature. So therefore, we're able to segment out, what the offers are, because I think too many people, including ourselves for a long time, would do email blasts that were cleanse sale, cleanse sale, cleanse sale, and not everybody likes a cleanse. There's a small percentage that do, and we make some money on that kind of stuff. But I think that to be able to segment the offers and be specific to the guests, to be able to get feedback to the guests is very important, to alert them of news that we hear, of things that are happening, be going on in the community. As an example, if it's raining, say here in Southern California, somewhere in the country, we might do it. We might or not. We'll send an alert out for a rainy day shot, which means you get a free shot of ginger. Ginger's, very obviously antioxidant, very good for you, and obviously helps to prevent you from getting sick or whatever. So we offer free shots when it's raining and such. So the digital aspect is a huge portion what we do, which is turning into AI, which we're using a lot of. Text messaging, which we've got 150, couple 100,000 people on that, and then I'm not sure how many people on our email list, but probably 500, 600, 700,000 people or more, I would say. Let's go on to the next slide. As far as the marketing support, the marketing team, I think, is second to none. We're a franchise. We're a franchise first brand, meaning that we put the franchise partners first. And with having 30 corporate locations, the way that we view it is we're the largest franchisor of the brand ourselves. And so therefore, what would we like? And so, for us, it's about engaging with franchisees. We have regional rally calls every once a month. And what that means is in each DMA, whether it be Houston, Dallas, Phoenix, Denver, our entire marketing team gets on the call. So people are having, good issues, bad issues, whatever it may be. We attack it. If there's an underperforming store, we dive in to, turn that around and find out what's going on. If somebody's doing well, we try and share good practices with it. We're in 19 states right now and growing. I don't think I told you the number of locations we have. We have about 170 locations system wide, about 100 currently in the pipeline, and Discovery Days. Discovery Days, very busy and selling out. And if you're interested in Discovery Days, just obviously send an inquiry and talk to our director of franchise. And I'm on all those Discovery Days myself, just because I'd like to engage with the guests at that point. Let's see if we have any other slides, and we'll get close to the end, and I'll look forward to answering any questions, because you're probably getting tired of me talking here. So technology, we talked about the AI a little bit, the app user, and things like that, so we can sort of move on from that segment. But I think you understand the aspects and the importance of digital. And let's see what else we got here. Oh, these are just, I think, the next we can just sort of go through, but again, when we look at franchise partners, some of the questions people ask is, what are we looking for a franchise partner? And we're looking for somebody that's, believes in our mission, believes in a healthy lifestyle, believes in engaging in the community, and for us, Alexis and I have always believed in, let's serve this picture of Gagan. He's the gentleman I mentioned earlier that had started with 5. It says 12 locations. He actually has 18 locations, and on his way to 30. But I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me, I guess. Let's see. We'll go through another slide here. But anyway, for us, again, the franchise, for us, what we're looking for, as I'd mentioned, was somebody that engages the community, that, yes, everyone wants to make money, and we have the platform to go ahead and do it. But we look at it one guest at a time. We want to take care of our team members. My opinion has always been, if we take care of our team members, the team members take care of the guests, and then the guest walks out of the store in a better mood than when they walked in. And then, word of mouth spreads. And if at the end of the day, there's a few bucks left over for Alexis and I, and, great. If that doesn't happen, then there isn't money left over, and that's the way it should be. So, and we hope the franchise partners take sort of that same approach and engage. It's a fun business. It's something that we're providing to the communities that I feel good about, and our franchise partners feel good about, and hopefully maybe some of you one day, might be involved and engaged in it. So it's a great business. It's exciting. I don't think health and wellness is going anywhere anytime soon. We're coming up on our New Year's resolutions here in a few months. I doubt anybody here in the audience is going to set a goal of next year I want to get in worse shape than this year, or going to say, I got to cut back on my fruits and vegetables. So I don't think the idea of a healthy lifestyle or eating fruits and vegetables and those things are going out of style anytime soon. So we're in a great position. We've got a lot of good things in the pipeline, and I just want to go ahead and thank you guys for listening and putting up with me for the last 30 minutes or so. And now I'd be happy to take any questions that you guys might have, and we'll go from there. All right, let's see here. Question: with technology and automation being huge in the restaurant world, yep, which it is, Have you implemented any systems or sources of automation that help Nectar run more efficiently from the store operational standpoint as well as a back office standpoint? That's a great question, and yes. So what happens on that is we have software that we both contract out and develop, and what that means is that, for instance, with the with the online ordering, we can optimize our labor, optimize cost of goods, and then we can go ahead and chart so those graphs match up so that when somebody is setting out their chart, they know exactly how many hours they should allocate, when the people should be in there. They can look at cost of goods, and the automation through both the app and online ordering allow us that, along with other technology that we go ahead and have. So people follow those systems. The technology that we've invested in is exponential in, as far as the difference that it makes. Well, tell you what, it looks like my time is up. I hope I've certainly enjoyed being here, and I want to thank you guys for being here as well. If any of you are interested to learn more about Nectar, send us an email, and like I said, our director of franchising will get back to you, and eventually, I'll be on the screen with you, on the phone, and or meeting you in person. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I hope you've enjoyed the other presentations and this one today, and I can't thank you enough.
Steve, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate your presentation and the information you provided us today. Thank you.